Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Let's Be Real Here podcast. I am your host, Rory Sits, and today's topic is not a topic at all. It is, in fact, an interview. I sat down and talked with Destiny Clayton, a local politician here in Michigan who is running for county commissioner with the Green Party, and we had a really cool conversation about politics, what her goals would be as county commissioner, and like I said, politics in general as a whole in our society right now. So I think it's really, really well worth a listen. So go ahead, check it out. And if you do like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, and share on whatever social media, wherever you're listening to, or check out my website at letsberealherepodcast.com. But let's dive right in. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Tired. I didn't get much sleep last night, but and happy Halloween. I don't know if you have any big plans, but it is Halloween after all.
I'm going to be staying home. I've got invited to a few parties, but numbers are spiking and everything else. And I'm like,
yeah,
just going to go ahead and stay home.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I have like a couple of friends that are going to come over and we're just going to watch scary movies and have a good time because
that sounds like a fun day.
Yeah, I don't want to do anything crazy. Not right now. And, not with how bad the COVID cases have been.
Yeah, they're getting bad and the deaths are starting to go up as well. So it's not good.
Nope, not good at all. Well, do you want to just jump right in?
Sure. Sounds great.
So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna make you listen to me do my rambling intro. I'll do that separately. So we'll just jump right into. I have some questions for you, and but before I dive into what I want to talk about, tell me and my listeners who you are and what you're running for.
I'm running for county commissioner in District 17, and my name is Destiny Clayton. I'm running because there are a lot of issues here in this area in general that we could really improve on. And instead we spend money on things like new welcome to Oak Park signs when we have basements that are flooding in the neighborhood. We need to stop working on gentrifying the city and start working on making it better for the people who already live here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for a lot of the people that listen to my podcast, listen because they're not very involved in politics, and I give them the information that they're looking for at like a simple level, right? I give them just facts first. That's kind of my, my ideal behind it. And then I give my opinion, which is very strong. But anyway, for, I guess, those listeners that don't exactly know what a county commissioner does, could you give us like a brief idea of what exactly that is?
So it's kind of in charge of managing the books, if you want to say that. We're in charge of the budget and managing what can be spent where and how. So that's kind of the gist of what a county commissioner does.
It in a nutshell. I mean, there's obviously, I'm sure there's a heck of a lot more involved than just that, but that I guess is when I did a little bit of research just to try and get like a better understanding of it myself. It's like you guys are in charge of the county and, like you said, the budgets. And District 17 is part of Oakland County?
Yes. It is a majority of Southfield, a lot of Oak Park, and Lathrop Village.
Okay. I grew up in Oakland County. I live in Wayne County now, but I grew up in Oakland County, specifically in like Novi, South Lyon. So,
okay.
I actually have a lot of people, a lot of my friends that I grew up with that listen to my podcast. They're all in Oakland County too, so that's kind of cool. But I guess what for you is some of your primary goals for what you want to do for Oakland County as county commissioner?
So I want to start improving the lives of the citizens that are here and stop focusing so much on inviting corporations and new business. We have a horrible problem, like I stated earlier, with basements flooding in this area that could really be addressed. I also want to change it where most of our budget isn't going to our local police departments, which is the case as of right now. We really need more of that money to go into mental health and different things for the community.
So you believe in like the redirecting of funds from police force. I don't like calling it defund the police because that's a misnomer. It's not exactly what it is, you know?
I like calling it refunding society. We need to refund society and stop thinking that we can do it with pressure. You can't change or make things better by trying to force it or with force. Like you can't punish poverty.
Right.
You can't punish people just for trying to survive because they're going to continue to do that. We need to get them out of survival mode in order to change anything.
Exactly. Why are we putting homeless people in jail cells when we should be putting them in homes?
Right.
You know, that's never made any sense to me. I worked in downtown Detroit for a long time, and repeatedly, that's what you see. You see them sweep the homeless people out of there, the cops sweeping them out of there, and they're not taking them to homeless shelters. They're taking them to drunk tanks, and half of them aren't drunk.
No, they're just doing it because they can say that they're inebriated, because why else would they be sleeping out in the cold? But they're not. They're just trying to survive. I spent a couple years homeless from 16 to 18, which is why I ended up joining the Army, because it was my only option. And we should have more options. And that's my goal, is to change it where my kids have more options than join the Army or start.
Right, because that's not okay.
It's not okay. And I've lost a lot of friends either to drugs or different things going in and out of the prison system because they've been desperate enough to commit crimes. It's very sad to see what the alternative was to me joining the Army.
Yeah, no, I see it too. In fact, I have somebody that I dated briefly in high school just passed away this week, 30 years old. You know, it's sad. And, you know, I know that she had a long history of, of drug issues and things like that. And she's got a child that's less than 2 years old. So,
and this isn't helping anyone, and punishing people who are in these horrible positions doesn't help them. It doesn't help anyone else around them. It doesn't help their children for their parents to be in jail.
No, and funding, like you said, funding the corporations in the area. It's like the politicians still believe in trickle down economics, which obviously doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And we need people that believe that it doesn't work, and we need to start changing it again.
Yeah.
We were doing our best when we were taxing at like 90%, which is honestly where we need to get back to, so we can start putting money into educating our children properly, money into making sure people stay mentally sound, get good educations, and can do better things. We should be to a point technologically that menial work should come to a point where it goes to automation. There's no reason to have people doing menial work.
Yeah. Especially when there is other jobs available, you know? I mean, I worked forever in the shittiest jobs that you could ever imagine, right? And I lucked out, and I ended up in a really good career that I'm in now. But it was complete luck that I got into it. But I continued, and now that I know it's even possible, right? I keep encouraging people. I'm like, come work with me. So you don't need any experience, and you'll make an actual wage. You don't have to do these other jobs, you know? Like, it's ridiculous. But one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, and it's just kind of a slight topic change, just because it's something that I stress a lot, and you've mentioned it. So, with corporate politics the way that they are, it is a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. And you're running with the Green Party, correct?
Yes.
And the Green Party right now is being absolutely silenced by corporate media and everybody else. Like, Howie Hawkins, who actually is running on a really great platform, has been completely shut out of any opportunity as running for president.
The only articles I've really seen written about him is how insignificant he is.
Right, and yet he's actually running on the platforms that the people want. You know, which blows my mind. But obviously, it's because corporate media doesn't want people to know that somebody's out there running on the Green New Deal and running on, Medicare for all and all these other policies. But how have you felt that kind of same pushback from at a local level from the media?
I mean, I haven't gotten any real media attention, to be honest. I did have one interview with Crystal and she was amazing. But it's not like they've really reached out to me a whole lot. I've tried to talk and that kind of stuff, but it's even hard to get in the door to anyone.
Right.
Like, I'm no different than the average person trying to get interviewed. You call up there and try and get an interview. It's just, it's absolutely, they don't look at me any differently, which they should, because I am on the ballot and I am a legitimate candidate. But because they think that alternate parties besides the two main ones are just immediate jokes, they don't look at us.
Yeah, and I hate the term. I'm glad you said alternate parties, because I hate the term third party, because there's more than three parties. The Green Party isn't in a third party column, right? They're just they're another political party. That they're just not. The media doesn't take them as seriously as the other parties.
I think they like to call us third parties because they want to keep us in at least third place. And
Right.
So I'm not going to fall for that anymore. Third parties or alternate parties can come in first or second too. So they're not third. So I call them alternate.
No, that's good. I volunteer for, I think, as you know, I volunteer for the Movement for a People's Party. And one of the big things that we say is we never call ourselves a third party. We always say a new major political party. So I think that's good, because changing the mindset is how we're going to get people to be able to understand that this isn't, that the Green Party, that, whatever party that you want to be a part of it's not a joke, and it should be there. The two-party system has failed us.
And honestly, we need more than two parties. When you have two parties, you have two sides that can fight and block the other people from getting anything done. So it just becomes a giant, there's a lot of words for it, but I'm trying to think of one inappropriate, or that is appropriate. Hold on. A giant cage fight. Yeah. So they're just fighting in there, when we could really use, if there were 4 or 5 parties that had elected candidates throughout the country, we would need a lot more cooperation. We would see a lot better policies come out of it.
No, absolutely. I mean, the framers of the Constitution didn't believe in political parties. So why are we then doing this? They intended for the electoral vote the votes to almost entirely end up in the House of Representatives, because they believed that the electoral votes would be split up amongst the people so much that it would come down to the House. But we as a society, not even we as a society, but our political parties maneuvered it in such a way that that's happened twice. And that's ridiculous. These people claim to be originalists, but we do nothing by the way that by their intentions. And I think that that's part of the problem, because so much of this history has been lost, that people don't know it.
We spend very little time learning history. And then the history, come to find out that we do learn, a lot of it is wrong. Yeah. Like straight up wrong. Like mind-bendingly wrong. Like it was almost the same slap as when I learned Jesus was probably not a white person, as when I learned that Christopher Columbus didn't actually discover America. It felt the same. Just like I did, like my whole life, I grew up thinking this one thing, and your mind is just completely blown when you find out you've been lied to or manipulated into thinking something.
Yeah, and that's coming true about so many things about our history as America. And honestly, I know a lot of on both sides of the two major political parties right now, they're pushing to eradicate that ideology when we should be embracing it. I don't know how much sway the county commissioner would have over education reform, but as an example, would you, if you had the opportunity, would you push for something like the 1619 project here in Michigan?
Oh, yes. Or wait, which one is that? Hold on, let me make sure it's the right one.
The California one. It's the good one.
Okay, yeah. Because there's another one being pushed right now to completely remove a lot of stuff. So I'm on the opposite side of that one. But if it's talking about really teaching we have Black History Month every year. Still, somehow, I didn't know what Juneteenth was.
Yep.
I never heard of any of these big massacres. I never heard any of the actual history of Black people. They just shoved a couple inventors, the same ones, over and over and over again in our faces. And there's so much more there to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. I was ashamed to say that I didn't even know about Juneteenth until a couple of years ago.
I didn't either. I am ashamed of it, but there's nothing I can do about that.
Right.
It's a combination of the lack of education, but there's something we can do to make sure our children know. And
Absolutely.
I make very sure my children know. And we're doing a lot of this, Black history and those kinds of things, and in a lot of Mexican history as well. My son is half Hispanic, so I'm trying to get him to learn some of this stuff. It's good to know these things. For a very long time, I thought that for a very long time, I thought that the USA was the best country in the world and everybody else was doing it wrong. And that's how I was raised and taught. It's not because of my experience. Trust me. It is because that's what I was taught. This is the best you're ever going to have. I think we need to be honest with ourselves and tell ourselves that we can do better. And we can.
The idea that, this whole Make America Great Again thing implies that at one point we were great.
Right.
But the reality is that until everybody has equal rights, like legitimate equal rights, until we acknowledge our past, until we, are actually moving towards a direction where corporations don't run our government, how can we say we were ever great?
We weren't ever great. We were doing better. There are times, certain populations were doing better and certain populations were doing worse.
Yeah.
So it's really just, we can always do better. I wish that everybody would just understand it the same way you think of yourself, like every day, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to be a better person. Why don't we think the same thing with our country? Every day, we're going to wake up and we're going to figure out a way where our country can be better. We can do better for our citizens. We can do better for our society. We should go back to the way that it was.
Right. And that's honestly one of my biggest problems with the way that politics is shaping up to be right now, right? So we have not to take away from your election, but just as an example, we have for president, we're running Joe Biden and Donald Trump and Howie Hawkins, obviously, but nobody's taking Howie seriously. So let's look at Biden. Biden wants to take us back to 2016. Nobody wants to go back to 2016. And
nobody does.
Yeah, and Trump wants to take us back to like the friggin' 1960s.
Yeah.
So we need to move forward, not backwards. We don't need to make America great again in the past tense. We need to make America great first. Now.
Yeah. We need to make America better. That's what, and that's all it is. Make America better than it currently is, right? That would be the best. Just make it better.
Yeah.
It can't get much worse, right? It's just like, let's make it better. Let's do the things we need to improve society. Let's put our money where it helps us, not hurts us.
Exactly.
Because it's not helping us to put all of our money in the police force. We've shown, first off, the police don't stop crime.
Mm-hmm.
Helping poverty stops crime. So we need to start putting our money in the areas where it's actually going to stop these things from happening and make us safer.
Yeah. And the reality is the cops right now with how much is on their plate, right? They actually only spend about 4% of their time actually doing their job policing. Right. 96% of the time they're doing other jobs that could be allocated to other people, other things who are better suited for those roles. And I think that's huge. And so I think it's awesome that that's one of your goals, like one of the things that you first brought up, that's something you want to do, because I think that's incredibly important. Because one, we should have the police do the policing, not have to go out for any and every single call.
So my son, I told you about him earlier, he has a lot of mental health issues as well. And he would have meltdowns and come aparts. At one point, he was punching me and kicking me and freaking out. And it came down to a choice to call the police or not. And I really, really didn't want to. And I ended up having to because I had no other choice. And of course, they made it before an ambulance or anything else. And, they weren't necessarily bad. When they got there, they handled it fine. but it still scared me. And it shouldn't be those are your only choices. If I had gotten a police officer who wasn't as nice, who wasn't as caring, it could have ended badly.
There's too many stories out there, people of kids like, autistic children and things like that getting shot by police because of a misunderstanding. And one, you said something that I think is really important. You had to debate calling the police. You had to think about it because you knew that there is this chance that something awful could happen. We should never be afraid to call the people that are supposed to serve and protect for us.
Right. And we should have separate lines that are dedicated for mental health issues.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that police are bad either, because honestly, I think some of them really need a raise.
Yeah.
I think the majority of their budget goes to things that aren't helping them at all. It's helping private contractors, it's helping a lot of other people, but there are things that we could do to help improve the relationship between, the police and the citizens and make police lives better. We have to stop pretending like the police can take care of everything and
Exactly.
start funding some of the other things.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions from people who believe that, that in the defund the police movement and all that, that it's they just want to eliminate the police off the police departments. And no, I guess no critical thinker is saying that we need to abolish the police, because that's ridiculous. But we need to address the issues, because there are issues, and it's okay to admit that there are issues, right?
There's, here's one. I have a lot of right wing friends. I do, because Army, and I grew up
Right.
very right wing. I had a lot of right wing friends. And one of the things that they love to point out is that white people get killed by the police too. And I'm like, why do you think that's a defense to
Right.
stand up for the police? I'm like, I'm like, and then they're usually like, well, the media doesn't say anything about the white people dying. I was like, well, have you been out protesting because white people have died? Are you out
Right.
protesting the police, or are you standing behind them? If you're mad because only the black people are getting brought up, it's because only the Black Lives Matter is out there raising hell. And
Right.
the only thing you're saying is against them.
Right.
If you have a problem with white people also being killed, hey, maybe you should get out there and protest the police. We have to change these things. We have to change the laws. I don't think every police officer is bad, but we have to make sure we can prosecute and bring to justice the ones that are.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Qualified immunity is the worst thing in terms in terms of the inability to hold them accountable. And it absolutely needs to go, in my opinion. But, you brought up an interesting point. You said you had a lot of right-wing friends, so I'm sure you get a lot of pushback on the fact that you're running as a Green Party candidate, because something that I see from both the right and the left is them talking all the time. It's like, oh, well, if I vote for you or if I vote for them, I'm taking away, I'm just giving a vote away to whoever. So how do you combat that?
I do it with both of them. Because I've heard it from both sides. Well, if you don't vote for Trump, then you're voting for Biden. If you don't vote for Biden, you're voting for Trump. Except I'm not voting for either one of them, guys.
Right.
Sorry. No matter how many times you tell me that it counts one way or the other, you guys all think differently.
Yeah.
But no matter how many times you tell me it counts one way or the other, I'm voting for Howie.
Right.
I'm voting for Howie because I believe the Green Party is the way forward. I believe a new left party is the way forward.
Mm-hmm.
And no amount of guilting me or shaming me is going to change that. Also, ranked choice voting, star voting, those things are not new concepts. I think that they just don't implement them so they can keep that fear there.
Yeah.
Oh, if you don't vote this way, the boogeyman on the other side is going to get you. Well, guess what? I don't care anymore. I'm voting the way I want to be represented.
Yeah.
And I want to be represented by the Green Party.
No, that's good. I'm glad that you're voting your conscience, because there's too many people out there that aren't. For me, that's a struggle that I have all the time, because I sit here and I'm like I hate Trump. I hate Trump. I hate Trump. And I express my hatred towards him all the time. But I don't like Biden either. Not in terms of policy, he's just another Republican. Literally, he's just a conservative. So I have this internal debate all the time. It's like, statistically speaking, because I have a very logical mind. It's like, statistically speaking, Biden is the best way to get Trump out of office, but I really want to vote for Howie. So I have this internal debate, and likely speaking, I'll end up voting my conscience because that's going to win over me over anything else. But
here's my fear. And this is, maybe I'm thinking way too many steps ahead. Okay. Here's my fear. Biden gets into office. Everybody goes back to brunch. Things get very calmed down. And at the end of this 8 years, we get someone way worse than Trump. Yeah. Someone even crazier, because people are so desperate for change at that point that we just get the most insane, ridiculous person. We can't pretend like Obama didn't create Trump, because he did.
Right.
He created this whole narrative where he was going to change things. He was going to bring people back. He was going to make this difference. And he didn't.
Yeah. He campaigned on Medicare for all in 2012. And then we got Obamacare. And it's not the same thing.
No, not even close. So, Obama created Trump. And I'm very, very scared to see what Biden would create.
Yeah. No, so, that's a legitimate fear. And honestly, not in a way that I hadn't thought about.
But, I don't think Biden is this like absolutely horrible person. I think that he will at least calm things down. He will probably, right now, Trump likes to inflame the two sides against each other really badly. We could really use some unity.
Right.
But the problem is, as long as we allow the left and the right, the Democrats and the Republicans, to keep turning ourselves against each other, we're never going to rise up and actually do the things we need to do.
Right.
We're never going to work together to make things better.
Right. And we're going to continue to
separate it that way.
Yeah. And we're going to continue to see corporations controlling the politics. And that's the problem. Biden said it himself. Nothing will fundamentally change if he gets elected. And that's not what we want. So
we need some big changes. We need a lot of changes. We need better school systems. We need to pay our teachers more. We need to pay our teachers a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that we really need to do in this country that could be very easily done. In Finland, they have a housing first program.
Yes.
I 100% believe we need that here. We need to get people into housing before they can work on other things. Do you know how impossible it is to get a job when you're homeless? How are you supposed to shower before work?
Exactly.
How are you supposed to change your clothes? How are you supposed to rest in between these grueling shifts? Because anything that you can get when you're homeless is grueling.
Mm-hmm.
It's astronomical to me that we expect people to pull themselves out of homelessness. It's almost impossible. Right now, if I were to be homeless instantaneously, I couldn't pull myself out of it.
Yeah.
I would need help. If my house burnt down, I wouldn't have the money for a deposit, a credit check, all the things that you need to do to get into a new place.
Yeah.
I would be homeless.
Yeah.
And so it's astronomical to me that we think everybody can just pull themselves out of it.
Yeah. No, it's insane. And I really like that you brought up the Housing First program, because that is one of the things that I like. That is like a big thing for me. I didn't spend as long as you, but I did spend a very short period of my life homeless as well. And bouncing between my friends' houses because I didn't have anywhere else to stay. And eventually my aunt and my grandma scooped me up and took me to their house, and I was in my 20s. I was in my early 20s then. So I feel you. I completely understand. And I was like, without their help, it never would have happened. It's right, impossible. I'd still be out there as far as I know,
And then how are these people supposed to deal with their mental illnesses? Do you think that you can deal with bipolar while you're sleeping on concrete, while your people are walking around who could rob you at any moment?
Right.
While you're in a constant state of danger when you're homeless. How is that good for your mental health?
Yeah.
How are you going to improve? It's just, until we can start fixing some of those things, there's no way those people can pull themselves out. And to expect them to is ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree with you, and I am glad that you're fighting the good fight, because You are exactly the kind of person that we need in Michigan, and you're exactly the kind of person that we need in the future of politics, because you're believing in all the right things, and I can see the passion I can see the passion in your face, and I can hear it in your voice.
It matters so much to me because it was so rough for me.
Yeah.
It was so rough for me, and I don't want my kids to go through it. I want to change the things before they get there. Right now, 44% of the jobs in the country pay under $18,000 a year. What's the chances that by the time my children are of age to have careers, they're going to be in that top 60%? Probably not very high.
Yeah. No, that's unbelievable that the median income is like $9 an hour effectively. That's insane. And the big awesome tax cut that we got 2 years ago raised it a whole 4 cents. So, that helped us a whole bunch, but
my grandparents, who are so very right wing, I love them sometimes, but they are so very right wing. They graduated high school and ended up getting into GM very young, both of them. And back then, GM, pensions, good pay, benefits, they sent them to school. My grandma only got a little bit of a college degree because GM sent her there. So, and then they got pensions and they live well. And they're like, I don't understand why other people can't do this. And I'm like, because nobody's doing this anymore. We can't just go get a job at the local factory and get pensions. That's not the way it works, guys. Everyone works in retail. They're like, oh, well, that's because you're choosing to work at fast food and at Claire's. And I'm like, well, that's half the jobs in the country, Grandma. Of course we're choosing to do that. It's not like it's our only choice or anything.
Right. And it's actually really hard to get into some of those factory jobs because like the good paying factory jobs, I know like my brother only got into the one that he's at because we have family that works there. If it wasn't for that, they weren't going to take him. He's some nobody off the street,
But even then, those good jobs aren't as good as the ones that were there before.
Oh, yeah.
Because they've gotten rid of pensions.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten rid of a lot of their benefits. It's a lot of things that they're like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. And they continue to be able to do that. And they're going to continue to make it worse and worse as long as we allow them to, until we start standing up and going, that's it. We need our pay to match productivity. And that's the way it should be.
Yep, 100%. No, I agree with you. And like I said, I'm seeing a lot of what I envision in you as well, and I think that's great. But so for all my my listeners, how can they find you? Are you do you have a website? Do you have social media?
I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook. I also have a page on Facebook called Our Destiny is Green.
Yep.
I am working on a website, but I am saving it until I start my next campaign, which will be in 2022.
Okay.
And well, I'll start this campaign this year, but the election itself is in 2022. And so follow me. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
We can build a new way forward. I know we can grow the greens together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really, really excited to see everything that you do in your future too. I'll be watching, and maybe we can do this again for your next campaign. That would be a blast.
Of course, I'm always available. And that's another thing. If you write me on Facebook, tell me what you want to see. I'm here to listen. I want to make things better, and I won't be able to do that until I understand all of the problems.
Exactly. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me. I had a blast chatting with you, and hopefully my listeners will get a kick out of it too. Because I know the election is coming up really soon, I am going to get this edited and posted today so that you can spread it around if you want to, so people can hear what you had to say. Because I noticed a lot of the other interviews that you had were real short, so I wanted to give you a chance to talk as much as you wanted to. And so
I'm good at talking.
Yeah,
so.
Hey, that's good for somebody who's running for any kind of political office. But before I let us go, do you have any last things that you want to say to the people?
Thank you for having me today, and really just. It's time for a change. No matter what you thought before or how you grew up, read the policies, debate which one's best for you, and actually vote that way.
Yes. Well, again, thank you very much, Destiny, for coming on to my podcast here, and I will get this out as soon as I can. And again, I look forward to everything that you're doing and I hope we can work together on moving our future forward and away from corporate politics.
Sounds great. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that's it, folks. Thank you very much for sticking with me here and hearing out that interview. It was a wonderful interview, and I had a great time doing it. I hope I get to do a lot more in the future with anybody and everybody. So if you're a politician out there and you feel like you want to do an interview with me, reach out to me. My email is on my website, letsberealherepodcast.com. But also, don't forget to check out Destiny over there on her social medias and on Our Destiny is Green, the Facebook page. But that's it for today. I'll see you on Wednesday.